Amazing. I see we are officially live here. Um, guys, as always, welcome back to another Spellborne stream. And as always, I'm your host, Basa. Really excited once again to be back here. And look, today we're going to be covering everything around, again, more updates around Spellborne. Again, I know the title of today's stream is mobile and web browser. So we're going to be going over a lot of these things and make sure that we cover a lot of the details here, but as always, got to check in with Ghosty himself. What's going on, Ghosty? How are we doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Just preparing for our public mobile release and fixing a lot of bugs here and there. But yeah, team has been working 24/7 on fixing and adding new things. So I've been busy. How about you?
Yeah, same. Honestly, just been doing a lot more streams, a lot more spaces as always, and you know how it is. It's always a weekly thing for myself. So yeah, man. But look, nonetheless, I'm really excited to once again hop on here and just get to know more about the Spellborn being everywhere. And so first, I do just want to lean into, I guess just the first rough updates, right? What have we been seeing since our last stream together? And of course, if you have any updates on when we're gonna see a mobile launch here, of course, go ahead, go see, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Since we last had a conversation, I think we pushed out a very big update. This was mostly covering, what you see on the screen. So multiple monsters in the wild. This is something we call hordes, and this is a part of a bigger update which allows players to participate in 2v2 battles. So co-op battles can now be added to the game, as well as there's another type of event that we will be adding where multiple players can participate in a single battle against a very very big enemy. So you can do like time based events and so on. So it just kind of opens up the battle system to multiplayer, and not just being 1v1. And this was quite a major update because we had to kind of finish up everything related to the battle system in terms of what was to support the number of attacks that we have for different monsters. So there are attacks that kind of affect the environment, and that would affect multiple monsters at the same time, and so on. So this is one of the major updates, but there have been other smaller updates. I can just quickly go over those, and the first one being that a new era is live for the PvP leagues, and this includes a better experience for the players. So usually, a lot of players complained about being disconnected from PvP battles, as either they had a bad internet connection and so on, so they got disconnected and they couldn't reconnect in time. So from now on, PvP leagues will allow players to reconnect for up to 3 turns, and this should allow a lot of players with bad internet connections to still have a chance in the PvP battlefield. As well as there have been two or three new mutations added to the game. So now for the past few weeks, what we have been focusing on is adding one or two new monsters every single week, while we can focus on the major features. So this is all regarding the previous update. There have been other smaller changes here and there, but these are the major things. But yeah, there are a lot of new things coming to the game. That's something we can talk about in this stream.
Man, absolutely, and thank you again, for the at least the rough icebreaker updates. But as far as what we're gonna see with the potential of a mobile approach with Spellborn, can we talk about the UI and the UX? Are there gonna be any major differences or anything between this?
So not many differences, as the game is already compatible with most mobile devices, and the way we design the game. So whenever we are designing even a single UI, We the development team, the whole our team always keeps mobile in mind. And so everything that is designed in the game, everything is designed according to PC as well as mobile at the same time. So the whole game design is already compatible with mobile. There have been a few things that we still need to finish up. And so what we'll be doing is we'll just push out the game without in-game purchases on day one. But players would be able to purchase in-game chests and so on using Apple Pay or Google Pay and so on, all the App Store payments systems. And all rest of the things I would say would be live on day one. So there are not many differences. Of course, players will not be able to trade directly in at least in for the first few months within the apps. Due to the restrictions placed by the app stores, they should be able to trade on the browser or on PC, and but the game itself will remain exactly the same compared to the PC build. So that's mostly it regarding mobile. Like for now our focus has been on the performance of the app on as well as kind of stability issues related to the game itself on iOS. On Android, it has been fairly stable, as well as it has been fairly running well. But on iOS, there have been a few issues related to the stability, which we have been focusing on in terms of improving and so on.
And sorry, I was speaking behind a muted mic. And just to follow up on this, I like the similar approach that you mentioned here. But when it comes to maybe per se on the hands of the gameplay side of things, are there going to be any marginal changes with how again maybe the gameplay looks, especially with what we're seeing right here on the screen, or anything I guess different amongst that side?
No, the gameplay would be exactly the same.
Mm,
So that's the best part. If you are
right.
playing on PC or if you're playing on mobile, there would not be any differences that you experience. The only difference would be in the trading part, as you would not be able to directly trade the items or the monsters within the apps. The marketplaces would be available, so you would be able to see them, but you would not be able to purchase them.
Right, right. Okay, 100% makes sense. And and this is more of a broader question, just kind of backs up a little bit, but how do you kind of look now at the onboarding like strategy for people to get into Spellborne? Do you feel like it's going to be easier now considering most people do have mobile phones, or you kind of see this as a new target audience per se? Curious to know your insight on that.
Yeah, much easier. So a lot of our, I would say, a big portion of our user base is primarily mobile, and this is, talking about the users that have to go to internet cafes to play the game on the browser on their PCs, because they do not have a PC. And they usually only have mobile or something. And for the game to be much more stable on mobile and allowing them to play the game at any point, this can be at any location and so on, is much better compared to what was possible previously, as our focus has been to make sure that the game becomes more and more accessible. So mobile is the first step. We then will focus on all the other platforms and so on. So mobile is kind of our first step. But in terms of new audience acquisition, yes, there will be new audience acquisition, but primarily this is mostly for users who are either existing or old users who kind of left out the game due to not being able to play the game on a much more regular basis. So now that problem would be solved with the mobile builds.
Got you. Makes 100% percent sense here. And also just to kind of quickly follow up on the onboarding strategy. Now that you kind of consider this a little bit more easier per se, how does this kind of change the marketing itself, right? And maybe you can share a little bit more of the plans of, do you plan to get into more gamer streamers? What kind of I guess step by step blueprint do you have here when it comes to the marketing?
So yeah, since for in terms of marketing, now we will be focusing on a two-way approach. So we were creating content on Instagram, we were creating on Twitch, TikTok. But the issue was that there was not like there wasn't a direct click to action. Like if you are on Instagram, you would click on the game and the game would open up in the browser. But not many users play browser-based games on mobile. So that was kind of a blocker for us. But now, since the mobile apps are available, we can straight away redirect them from the Instagram page to the mobile apps. So that's a much easier onboarding for us, and that's something we will resume in terms of content. Not the same type of content, but we will be more focused on something that is focused on basically event based marketing, as well as something that is more eye catchy compared to just the casual style of reels,
Right.
because that has worked out well for us. But in terms of user acquisition, it's I would say it's kind of in the middle. So it does bring eyes on the IP, but those eyes and the conversion rate is much lower than what we want. So that's the first thing. The second thing being the game launching on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So once that happens, then we work with Web2 creators who are primarily focused on games such as PokeRogue or PokeMMO, and have them stream out the game. And since we have already tested out a previous version of Twitch rewards and so on, so now we have a lot of data on what works, what doesn't work, and we can test out more with these creators and move forward.
I like this. And I like the event-based marketing. Can I get a little bit more of examples of like what that will look like? Because for me personally, whenever I come across games in, at least in my Instagram reels or whatever it may be, it's always these viral clips of a streamer maybe playing or testing out a game, and then maybe something glitches out in the game, and because of how funny or these type of clips, the more entertaining clips tend to be, I guess, the ones that explode. But I'm curious to know, when you mention event-based marketing, what does that look like?
Yeah, so if you look at popular indie games and how they have been marketing till now, that's the kind of marketing we are also targeting for our game. And primarily, that is the main reason is because when we talk about marketing these days, for most games, if you are a AAA title, you straight away go to the best creators. But if you are a indie game, or if you're a small budget game, then your goal is to make sure that you catch up that virality moments, those virality moments that are present based on what is currently active in the new space, or in general in terms of events, festivals, and so on. So that's the kind of marketing we will be focusing on, and it will be more creator led in comparison to the simple animated style reels. Instead, we will be focusing more on community interaction. We will be focusing more on taking community feedback, and in general explaining the game mechanics in a fun manner, rather than just showcasing a random reel that is just some of our IP characters animated. Because when we talk about TikTok and Instagram, our next focus is to acquire players from those platforms, and we already have a lot of eyes on those platforms. So like 100K on Instagram and so on. But our next focus is to convert those users into active players, and for that we want to make sure that we explain what the game mechanics are like, and make sure that the players understand those game mechanics when they enter the game. Because uh, that's something that we have seen as when someone is playing Spellborne for the first time, they think that it's a Pokemon style game. It is, but there are many different mechanics. So users usually assume different things, and when things act differently, or when for example, there's a trust-based mechanic in our game, and a monster might stop listening to you if there is low trust. So a lot of players tend to think that it's a bug, that the monster is not listening to them. So those kind of things we want to explain to the players, and we do that explanation in the game, but we also want to do it outside the game and on different platforms, and help make sure that we are able to communicate these
Mm,
different things, and we can create memes related to that. For example, a reel could be in Spellborne, you treat your monsters like a child. You feed them what they like. If you don't feed them, if they you feed them something that they dislike, they will cry, they won't listen to you, and they will just run away from the battle. So that's basically what the trust based mechanic in Spellborne is. So those
right.
kind of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the kind of event based marketing we want to focus on, and focus on virality rather than consistent content that is mostly just cozy reels, because cozy reels do well, but they don't do that well for a
Mm,
game specifically.
mhm, mhm.
So it gets a lot of eyes, but it doesn't convert to players. For us, it's important that we convert them to players, because that's where the revenue lies.
Right, right. And I like the way you're breaking this down. And to kind of, I guess, add on top of this, right? You mentioned like this virality that you're trying to achieve. Um, do you also kind of see this as a way to expand the IP? I know that that's a huge part of the reason, but like when it comes to making sure it resonates, right? I guess that's where my head is at with this question. Is like, how do you know you're achieving this right connection when it comes to this virality loop to Spellborne marketing? Curious to know your thoughts on this, Ghosty.
Yeah, so if we talk about the virality moment, or if we talk about what the end goal is, for us, our focus is that we create content, but that content should end up creating more content for us. And that can be fan made videos, that can be fan made art. And for those things to happen, there should be a virality moment. So, for example, when you look at the virality moment for Among Us, the game went viral. A lot of creators were creating content, but the game would have died down if not for that IP being memeable. That IP being created into different memes that kind of lived on even after the game kind of died down initially. So that's the thing that we are trying to target. We want to focus on getting more players into the game, but we also want to focus on creating those viral moments that then convert towards more fan made art, more fan made videos, and essentially more content that covers the game, that covers the IP. Because anything that talks about the game or the IP without being a paid spend is a win-win for us. So that's the kind of virality we want to touch. And there are differences in the virality you can achieve. For example, the cozy reels that we did, a lot of them have views in millions, but those millions of views do not easily translate to millions of players, because many of those users just view the reel, they like it, they share it, and then they scroll away, they move to another reel. And they in that time period, they haven't really learned anything about the game itself. They just saw a cute talking seed, or they saw a cute panda talking, and that's it. Then they found it funny, and then they scrolled away. So for us now, the focus is on just sharing more about the game, but it shouldn't be directly just sharing the gameplay itself. It should be repurposed content that focuses on talking about different game mechanics, but not in a boring manner. Something that is related to the current events or current festivals or current landscape of the world, and essentially comparing them to what is happening inside our game.
I like this. And it's, for me, I'm such a I like really high effective marketing when I see it, and so I feel this is very very much applicable here when it comes to games. Um, and Ghosty, just to kind of pick your brain a little bit. Do you have you learned, I guess, this balance, or I guess this mixture, this blend of Web3 marketing and just regular gaming marketing in itself? And what have you kind of noticed that really works extremely well in this space that you think can work extremely well outside of this space? Curious to know your insight on that.
So I would say it's not too similar, uh, primarily because when you talk about Web3, the best form of marketing inside Web3 is price. The best form of marketing in Web2 is content virality. And these two things are very, very different. So, for example, in Web2, if you see someone else playing the game, you play the game. But in Web3, if you see the price of the tokens or the NFTs is high, then you play the game. And it's these are two very, very different things. You could achieve both by via creators, but those creators then tend to be different people. Like a person talking about the price of the token would not also be would not be the same person that talks about the game mechanics of the game, or just creates those viral moments that focus on the gameplay. So it's not very, very similar, but I would say like a lot of these creators could translate and become like good web 2 creators when it comes when we talk about the like the current user base that we have in terms of content creators, or creators that are a part of our content pipeline.
It's this is powerful, man. And again, I noticed that there's a theme here of content. And I know content is honestly, in my opinion, it's king when it comes to marketing. Um, and just to kind of reel this back into the mobile side of things. Now, will we see Spellborn on the App Store per se? Or is it going to be on other marketplaces, I guess, in the time being?
Yeah, so Spellbound will be available on the Apple App Store as well as Google Play Store and a few other side stores. Um, so this is for mobile. For PC, we will be first focusing on Epic Game Store as well as some similar stores like itch.io and so on, and essentially focusing on getting on as many platforms as possible. Uh, Primarily our goal is to make sure that the game becomes accessible in the sense of being like, if I want to play the game, I have multiple options. So now the question just becomes, which option should I choose, rather than if I can even play the game or not. So those are the questions that we want to change, and right now that has been our main focus. Like, get the game out as soon as possible on different platforms, let the players play, and then their next question should be related to the gameplay rather than if this game is even playable or not, because having a playable build in compared to most web3 games is already a bigger milestone.
And speaking of these milestones, when it comes to the long term, now that you're expanding Spellborn, has any of these future milestones changed at all, or has the mission relatively stayed the same?
It has kind of stayed the same. Our goal has been to kind of create a good game with an open economy where players can actually have a bigger say compared to what is easily possible in the web 2 side of things. But the only difference I would say is when we talk about what is next for the kind of players we are targeting. So, for example, with Spellborn itself, the primary focus for us has been just Web 2 players. And with Guardians of Celestia as well, we were going to target Web 2 players only. But the issue that we have seen is that Spellbound does also attract degens, or Web3 folks who like to have short-term content, short-term gameplay. And the problem with that is that those kind of users, they like to have very, very short-term content, and instead of um, like the basically the planning needs to be very, very different. So instead of trying to shove both of those players inside a single game, what we are now trying to do is focus on having good like web 2 players inside Spellborn and have web 3 regions in Guardians of Celestia. So Guardians of Celestia will then focus more on the gacha style mechanics and so on, but the IP stays the same. So now, if someone is a region, they can come from Guardians of Celestia and move to Spellborne. And if someone is inside Spellborne, they like the IP. They want a gacha game that is short term content and very very fast paced content and higher stakes. Then they can participate in Guardians of Celestia. So it's going to be back and forth, and that's kind of the only change that has been from the beginning. Otherwise, our goal has been primarily the same, build out a good game, uh, put it in front of as many players as possible, put it in front of as many platforms as possible, and then help create a good economy that is open, that allows players to have a bigger say. And this could be in multiple manners, but the primary focus, like in terms of next steps, so it would be introduction of kill tokens, introduction of basically P2P trading, open marketplaces, new forms of marketplaces such as the Glory Store, where the prices differentiate based on demand and so on. So a lot of different kinds of marketplaces and P2P trading, and that's primarily the focus for our team in the next few months. Like, we want to make sure that the open economy for Spellborn succeeds, and we want to make sure that the game is able to reach web 2 players, and the game is quality. once that Once that is something that we are able to achieve, then we focus on Guardians of Celestia side by side and promote that towards regions. Guardians of Celestia would then focus on very, very short term content, like, events that are mostly 7 to 14 days, while Spellborn will focus on long term content, but with short term, PvP cycles. So those are the two differences that we are primarily focusing on in the next few months. And otherwise, I would say it has stayed mostly the same. There have been a few delays, but it's mostly related to making sure that everything is quality and everything is fully tested out before we just go fully on chain.
And again, this is where things get a little bit spicy because for me, and then I'm pretty sure you know this too, Ghosty, is the concept of hiding crypto behind the products, right? So, again, going back to the mobile side of things, when users sign up, right, it kind of be the same way of how we signed up here for the browser side of things, or is there going to be an integration of, you know, I guess a custodial wallet on the back end that gets created for these users? Any insight on that end?
So when you sign up on the Spellbound website, there is a non-custodial wallet created for you, and that is exactly the same thing that is going to happen on the mobile builds as well. So if a mobile player signs up on the app, a non-custodial wallet is created for them within the game itself, and it is going to be exactly the same flow as the browser version. So right now, I would say it takes about 4 seconds for a player to sign up into the game, and then complete the intro, which takes about 2 minutes. And So overall, a player has entered the game within the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game, and this would be same for mobile, maybe even less, as we are able to directly just use the already logged in accounts that the player has on the device. So yeah, it would be primarily a very very similar flow, nothing too different. So players who are playing on browsers should be able to play on mobile as normal, and they have been playing. So for example, the game has been available, like the apps have been available in testing for our holders till now, as well as we recently did open up testing to public as well. But the full builds, that something where you can search Spellborn on the App Store, that should be possible after the full release.
I got you. And after this full release, what would you say is kind of like the direction from here? Are we just going to be seeing, I guess, monthly updates around what's next for the game per se, or anything along those lines?
So apart from the mobile release, our focus right now is open economy as well as the token. So have the game economy live, have the marketplaces live, have player purchases live. But in the long term, uh, I would say we will be focusing on content. So every month we are going to be focusing on one new location as we did before, as well as new quests every single month. As well as in terms of monsters, as I mentioned, we will continue to do 1 to 2 monsters every single week. So the game will have fresh content every single week, but new like a good amount of content would come every single month, so like at the end of every month. And in terms of the feature updates that we are going to be focusing on, so it's going to be more focused on PvP as well as short term events, and these short term events will incorporate multiple elements, and these could be either 2v2 battles or 3 versus 1 battle, and so on, as well as introduction of guild tokens and then guild events where guilds are participating against each other. So that's kind of the long term version of what we are going to be focusing on in the next like 3 to 4 months
Mm,
after the game goes into like open
okay.
market.
And speaking of guilds, really quickly, what's your plan? Like, let's say, like, when mobile launches is out, and a ton of new players, especially from the Web 2 side of things, are flocking in. How do you plan to manage the guild system, right? With so many players, is there a threshold to how many guilds there can be, or just more curious on like the system that you have prepared for this type of situation?
So yeah, initially guilds will be limited, and that's primarily to focus on quality rather than have a lot of dead guilds. We want to focus on a very few active guilds, and that's primarily going to be the initial target. But in terms of introducing Web2 users to these guilds, I would say it will be mostly dependent upon the guild itself if they want to target a Web2 user or not. But for the Web2 user to be able to find a guild, it should be pretty much very, very easy. Like it's going to be like 2 clicks for them to be able to find open guild that is available in the game. But for the guilds themselves to market to Web2 users, it's up to them. Like they might be just focused on the Web3 side of things, or there might be a few guilds that are focused on the PvP side of things. So it's different topics, different targets. It all depends upon the guild itself, like what they are targeting. But yeah, in terms of how Web2 users are entering into the game economy, initially, I would say for them, we would be focusing on just creating more and more content, because that's something that sells in Web2. For Web3, it's more about the event-based system. So these are the two different things that will go parallel, hand in hand, as I mentioned, like content updates every single month, but events every maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and they usually last for maybe at max 1 week, and they will focus on fast paced content updates or fast paced player to player interactions.
And this fast paced system that you kind of have kind of set up for Spellborne, um, also something that kind of thinking of the guild system. You mentioned that there is a certain limit to it, but what are your plans though for expansion and kind of turning this into, I don't even know if there's a word beyond guilds, armies, right? Or do you kind of see Spellborne in a sense of like it almost having its own arena of just I guess monster collectors, monster hunters in a sense. How do you kind of see that, Ghosty?
Yeah, so that's something what we call alliances. So,
Mm,
inside Spellborn, a guild could have sub guilds. So, usually a guild is limited to 198 members, but guilds could have sub guilds, which then kind of increase their limits, as then each sub guild can have like, up to 200 members. So kind of expands a lot of things, and once a guild has a multiple sub guilds, it becomes an alliance. And for those alliances, we will be focusing on helping create internal tournaments, helping create internal hierarchy systems, and so on. But yeah, that's what we call alliances in the game, and primarily in the short term, there is not much for them. In the long term, we do have a few plans where alliances will play a major role. So having a smaller guild is fun, but having a bigger guild that is actively interacting in the game economy is even better for kind of the long term play, for players to interact in the game economy.
I like this. And first of all, Ghost, I realize here we're at the 34-minute mark. Just gonna do a quick little stream reset. Shout out to everyone here in the chat, man. As always, a lot of people are constantly showing up here in today's stream. Don't forget, guys, show some love to the Spellborne account. And also, there is a stream link that gets posted whenever we do go live. So for those that do want to show love, highly recommend doing so. But look, also, man, I guess to kind of pivot from our discussion here regarding of in mobile and kind of gaming, I just want to talk very briefly on again the current state of just Web3 gaming as a whole. I know GDC is currently going on right now, and I don't know, just speaking of GDC, Ghosty, do we have any booths or anyone representing Spellborne out there at the moment?
I do not think so. Probably an AVAX booth, but this year we are not present there. Last year the game was playable, yes, but this year our team has been just heads down, focused on the token release as well as the game economy release, because that's primarily like the most important component for our game. But yeah, if we talk about the in general like state of Web3 right now, in terms of gaming, it is, I would say, at the lowest it has been in the past few months, to be frank. Because a lot of games have seen delays, and when we incorporate, how the market is performing, like all of a sudden, those so many ups and downs. It is hard, like there have been a lot of studios also shutting down, so it is very very difficult. And I always see this, that gaming itself is a very, very risky environment. It's not just Web3. Like if you look at Web2, it's very, very risky, because 99.9% of the games fail. Like if we talk about profitable games, only 0.01% of the games of that are totally made are profitable. And if we talk about the games that achieve escape velocity, it's probably like a single game per month, while there are like 15,000 games being made almost daily. So there is a lot of risk, but when it comes to Web3, this risk kind of it becomes exponential, primarily because now you're incorporating a token, now you're incorporating a market. And as I've said, like price defines marketing in Web3. And if Bitcoin goes down, all of a sudden your marketing is dead, no matter what you do. You could be announcing the biggest partnerships, and it wouldn't budge the price even a bit, and all of a sudden that big moment that you have, it just dies down. So I would say Web3 gaming is not in a good state right now, and it's kind of this bridge where once you cross that bridge, you kind of achieve heaven. But before that, you have seen the good days. Now you're just kind of in the middle, and whoever is able to cross that bridge is kind of on the side of getting to succeed. If you don't, then you kind of see it as a failure. So it's very very important that games keep on building, developers keep on building, and they finish up what they have been focusing on, what they have been kind of targeting, regardless of the market conditions. Because at the end of the day, if the game is good, it should be able to generate attention regardless of the market conditions. Of course, the price also depends upon the market, but even like tokens launching right now, those tokens will have a good time once the market goes up. So primarily for game developers, it's it's just to focus on, continue building out the game. And at GDC, I've heard like a lot of games have showcased very, very good gameplay. So things are positive for the future. Currently, the market is dead, and the whole market is dead, to be honest. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the current market conditions,
Yeah.
and specifically gaming.
Yeah, no, it's extremely well said and thought out. And one thing I want to highlight that you shared is, you know, and honestly, it's kind of like what you just shared here at the end. It's like the overall market is kind of dead, and I don't know. I think something that I've been gauging over the maybe how long is this mini bear market happening now? Maybe like almost a full month. A lot of people have either burnt out. I know people that are honestly spending less and less time on Twitter, and they're out, IRL maxing, which honestly I prefer. And yeah, I just feel, maybe not right now is the time to, I don't know, be as hyped as possible. I think this is the builder's environment where it's the best time to kind of just work behind the scenes, refine the product, go back to your drawing board, all those things. And I'm just curious, you kind of been making cards while the market has been down. Curious to know just more on like your day to day and what you kind of just see here from now on moving forward.
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yeah. Just more so wondering like how are you playing your cards or how have you been playing your cards since the market has gone down? Anything particular that you've been working on around Spellborne?
Yeah. So, for our team, market conditions don't really matter that much in terms of, what when we are building things. Primarily because, for us, we are focused on building out a good game. And once we are done with that, then we focus on creating more and more content. So those are the two things that we care about. And, for Spellborn being a game that is mature enough to have a good market or have an open market, that is kind of the target for us. And that will play an important or major role in terms of attracting Web2 users, because if you look at a lot of Web3 games, they are not mature enough. And they are not mature enough in the sense that, the games can be considered MMORPGs, but they don't have MMORPG elements. Or the games could be farming simulators, but they're just, something that you play for single game, single day, and that's it. So for you to be able to, focus, like, the things that you want to focus on in such market conditions is to get feedback. First of all, that's the main thing. Get as much as feedback as possible. And the people who stay in such market conditions with you are primarily your biggest supporters. And that's something, you always heard, like, hear, like, if if a product has seen a good, a huge hype cycle, it has seen a good amount of community, like, that's something that we also talked about in one of the previous streams, that games, when they launch in when they launch in the Web3 space, they see a huge hype cycle, so they get a lot of supporters and a lot of community members. And most of those community members will not stay. But once, when the hype dies down, so that those are the conditions right now. The hype is dead around gaming. Now what you have is either, your long term supporters, or people who want to, who are kind of waiting on those good conditions, on those, either waiting for the token, or they're waiting for good market conditions because they believe that, the market will go up in a week or two. So for us, our primary focus has been to get feedback, improve the game, and just prepare for a launch. And as things get delayed, it just means more things on day one. So, for example, when we talk about Spellborne itself, if there have been delays, it just means more content on day one of open marketplaces or P2P trading and so on. So, for example, players, some of the things that our team has been working on in the background for the past few weeks is adding support for fiat payments. So we upgraded our wallet systems, and now the game can support, like the game build can support fiat payments, and players would be able to just use credit cards, debit cards, UPI, and just purchase bundles inside the browser, inside the game, without having to leave the game itself. And once the token goes live, what will happen is, in the background, it will make the purchase of the token, and everything is streamlined within a single click. So those kind of things are something that games usually launch after the token. But since our token has seen delays, our focus has been just push in as many things as we can on day one, because we already have so much planned after the token release. When we talk about 2v2 battles, or short paced events, or on chain tournaments, or guild tokens, or guild wars, and so on. So a lot of things have been
Yeah.
changing here and there in terms of focus. But for our team's main goal, that is building out a good fun game, that hasn't changed from the beginning, and it still is the same regardless of market conditions. Even if the market goes down more, we'll keep on building out the game, because this is something that we highly believe in. It has BMF in Web 2, it has BMF in Web 3, primarily because it has succeeded in Web 2, and it is very much compatible with Web 3.
Yeah, this is exactly. And first of all, Ghosty, love your thought process when it comes to the token. I know, I myself, I hate asking the when questions, because I know it's just for people here listening to speculate. Um, but also, man, like, I've been seeing so many delayed TGEs in the past year, and I've also just seen the responses of like many other people that, are involved in the whole TGE side of things. And it's just a lot of frustration. And so, I'm glad that you are taking it slow. I'm glad that there is no rush when it comes to this. And again, I think there's a specific audience I feel that only look at crypto for the financial value, and that's completely fine. But I think in gaming, especially in crypto gaming, you can't be too focused on that, because there's so much more than a coin or a token attached to a game. Sometimes it's really just about the product itself, and as long as the game is fun, right? Like, all the rewards and everything will come naturally, and it should come naturally. So I love your response to this. And look, Jose, I know we're also approaching, at least the last couple minutes here on today's stream, but just a couple more questions on my end. It's just regarding like the next steps from here. Um, and that alone is the question. What are the next steps from Spellborn, from Ghosty yourself, from this point on? Please go ahead.
If we talk about feature updates that will be going live in the nearest future, so that includes mining, that includes updates for farming. So we are adding fertilizers, and that kind of connects two different skills. So farming will be now connected with mining. You mine rocks, you use those rocks to create fertilizers, and that kind of improves your whole farming experience. Fertilizers were something that were requested very, very initially, so it has been long. Like, we have been preparing for it, and we just wanted for mining to go live, and it took a bit of time. But in addition to that, improved user experiences around storage, as well as improved notifications for mobile. And mobile build is reaching the release candidate. So, release candidate is something, what you call a version that is almost ready for public. So our mobile builds have reached release candidate. And in terms of what else we are working on is translations inside the game, as well as user interfaces for players to be able to, or projects to be able to just directly get integrated into the game without having to open up a support ticket or anything. So projects would be able to just directly upload their sprite sheets and pay a fee and just get their integration live within seconds without having to reach out to us. So those are the kind of things that we are also working on side by side in terms of the short term things. And in addition to that, we have been testing out marketplaces, we have been testing out apartment staking, token staking. So those things should be going live in the next few weeks. uh, this would mean like open economy for the game is coming out very, very, very soon. And in terms of what's next after that, is just focus on more and more content, because then we want to focus on bringing in as many web2 players as possible, and for that we need a lot more content. Like right now, if the game has 2 or 3 hours of content, we want to focus on at least have 7 to 8 hours of content, and that means new locations, new monsters, and new player builds, and so on. So all those things should go live in the next few months, as well as our team is side by side working on Guardians of Celestia. So players who are more interested in higher stake gameplay or gacha elements, they can wait for that. uh, a lot of the things between Spellborne and Guardians of Celestia will be very much connected. So players who are actively playing Spellborne, they will be getting early access to the Guardians of Celestia game as well. And these are the things that are regardless of market conditions. There are a few announcements that we are preparing, but we are keeping those for like good market conditions. We do not want to waste them on bad market conditions. But yeah, there are a few more surprises for our players, or people who speculate on the game economy as well as the token. So yeah, can't really share those right now. But overall, the team has been working on just improving the game experience, adding new features, completing older features. This includes introduction of new skills. So mining is almost complete. Phishing is currently in internal testing, as well as the prestige system should go live as soon as phishing is done. In addition to that, fertilizer systems are live. In addition to that, hordes are live. In addition to that, we have been testing out 2v2 battles internally as well. So those should go live with the next era or the era after that. And after that, just open economy. So players would be able to trade items, they would be able to trade monsters, skins, tools, and so on. And we then want to focus on a lot more utility for apartments. And as we want to integrate them into, like have a deeper integration for apartments with guilds. So allow apartment holders to be able to kind of provide extra utility for, to attract more guilds towards their apartments.
Man, this is so much alpha. Can I just say this, guys? I hope everyone in the chat. I know Ghost, you tend to do this at the very end of the streams where you just save the ultimate bullet here for everyone listening. Dude, first of all, love the updates. I love hearing the around tournaments and everything around that. So yes, a lot of the comments here, new things coming, guys. Hyped. I love it. Yes, 100%. A lot of things are coming through. Um, Ghosty man, I am officially gassed and out of questions here. But is there anything last minute that we didn't get to discuss as much, but you did want to just highlight just a little bit here? Please go ahead.
Yeah. So this space or the stream's title was primarily mobile, but you know, for Spellborne, it is a custom game engine which allows us to kind of ship out the game basically on every other platform available. So that's something we are currently testing. I cannot name platforms that are finalized, but we are testing other builds. And this of course includes Windows, Mac, and Linux, but other platforms as well. And so cross-platform, cross-play on all these platforms, and players would be able to play the game using controllers on PC as well, as we are working on adding controller support into the game. And overall, for the team itself, even in such bad market conditions, the team has been taking a lot of feedback. Like if you look at the Discord, like the heroes chat is just filled with feedback every single day, and it's just the game designers talking to the heroes regarding what should be fixed, what should be changed. So any community members who are not heroes but still want to pass on some feedback, still want to suggest ideas, share your suggestions in the Discord server. If they still go unnoticed, ping out the heroes and ask them to forward their suggestions, ideas, and everything. Because we are very, very actively taking feedback, we are very, very actively improving the game, and adding a lot more things that are currently active in terms of UI and everything. Like a lot of features are very much hidden inside the game right now, and we're just preparing and making sure that everything is ready before we share them with you. And this includes a lot of cosmetics, this includes a lot of utility for NFTs, for monsters. For example, the starter monsters that you see. So, for example, I have a Cayman, and once the Cayman mutates into a Sobek, Sobek is a dragon. So, dragons can fly. And we are adding support for, or working towards adding support for what we call mounts. So, you could just, instead of riding a skateboard, you can ride a Sobek, and you can fly around the map. So those kind of cosmetic utilities that players have been asking for, our team has been testing things out, and I'm very positive that we should be able to add these things inside the game. And so any feedback, any requests that players have, that holders have, regarding utility, regarding just general feedback, I would say they can share it in the Discord server. If it still gets unnoticed, ping out heroes, ping out moderators, and ask them to forward it to the team, because we are always listening and we are always building out the game, making sure it is the best version it can be. And we are shipping almost every single day. If you look at our internal GitHub channels, it's every single day we're filing like at least 2 or 3 new feature PRs. So it's a lot of things are being built right now, and I'm super excited about what's next.
Man, that's powerful. And Ghosty, as always, appreciate all the alpha that you've dropped here in the past hour. Look, guys, if you enjoyed it, and to everyone here that's watching, first of all, I appreciate all the time that you guys have spent. You guys could have been doing anything else, but you decided to be here on today's stream. But look, with that being said, Ghosty, as always, appreciate the time spent here with you. I look forward to many more of these streams in the coming weeks and more updates around Spellborne. But with that being said, we'll wrap up things right here, right now. Guys, thank you to everyone that's been watching. We will see you guys at the next one. Cheers and peace out.